Hello, I'm Sora Luxon, and this is Magic Lesson number 54 Staying Calm. Quick question to answer first. An email asking about what the third degree means. Is the meaning slash phrase really based in the occult? Short answer yes. It's actually fairly common public knowledge that being given the third degree, much like being blackballed, is a saying etymologically inherited into widespread vernacular from the Masons. That is, non operative Freemasons, those of the craft who work not to build in stone, but rather build in lodge. And in Masonic parlance, the actual degree of the third degree, which is given to a member, does indeed have to do with a call and non-response query challenge. That is, of being asked questions and refusing stoically in abyssion to your oath not to respond to those questions you're being asked, to hold on to the secret no matter how or how many times you're being asked for information. Hence, why being given the third degree means to most people commonly to be pelted or badgered with questions. All of that is accurate. So, in that way, yes, the phrase itself is a hand me down of the occult. That is private or secret practiced rituals. Because remember, that's all occulted actually means secreted or hidden from view, hidden from common view. The many cannot see, but the few can, etc. I'll hint at some less known information just for my listeners, though, in this little podcast for fun. The actual practice of the third degree ceremonially in Magick, CK, remember, Magick, predates Freemasonry as well. So most people who know anything about that phrase, the third degree, know that it's somehow associated with Freemasonry. But even deeper than that, it was inherited by Masons from an older established source of ancient mystery school, the Druids. So here's a lesser known fact. There are within Druidic circles, as in Masonic ones, varying degrees. There are varying levels, if you will, of study, practice, and accomplishment within those orders. In Druidic lore and magical acquisition training, 3 classes of initiated druid with 3 different labels exist. And you can look more into that for yourself if you wish to, right? I'm not here to give you all of the information, right? Just to give you tempting hints so that you can seek out what you're meant to seek out. But no, initiated druids with 3 labels, of those 3, it's the highest master alone who rose to meet that third degree challenge, that third label of the Druidic system, by being sent alone on a boat out to sea, the ocean, right? Just pushed out into the ocean and entirely alone, solo, being able to navigate and then survive the journey to return later to shore. That was the challenge of the third degree, to attain that highest initiate level. In druid orders, the ultimate test, if you will, is known as the third degree. To accomplish such, then, was to attain the highest, most respected rank among the wise, among the priesthood. So yes, still also occult, but an older occult description than most know about, where the phrase may have truly begun before it was passed into Masonry, and then from Masonry into common vernacular as we all know it. There was actually a lovely question not too long ago from a studious practitioner who was looking for further reading material aside from what I've already mentioned. Those books that I've already said a new truth seeker might want to use to self-course their initiation with. A source to cover certain subjects a bit deeper without interfering with their magical ceremonial practices. And I recommended the incredible compendium, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. It's an amazing book. And this book, which is why I'm thinking of it, does cover the subject that I just spoke about. I believe fairly early on, somewhere maybe in the second or third chapters. There's a lot of incredible information on so many different mystery schools throughout our shared histories, and no small amount of very interesting, less well-known information about magics. All too oft overlooked secrets of the great craft, right, are in that book. A lot of the associations between things that you might want to think about. So if you're really into background information like this, information, what does the third degree really mean? Why are there 12 zodiac signs and 12 disciples and 12 in the pantheon of Norse gods, right? Why is there always a Judas or a Loki that kills the shining, beautiful one? All of that wonderful inquiry that can lead down so many more, rare, hidden, beautiful paths in your truth seeking. Try that book, that Manly P. Hall book. It'll get you well started with tons of background onto whatever you might wish to seek deeper into. I actually consider it required reading among a specific level of practitioner from my own magical background, right? In ceremonial hermetic magics, there's going to come a point where you're going to be told to read this book or hopefully have already read it. Like if you're coming to me personally to learn firsthand to do what I do, how to do it, this book is going to find its way onto your mandatory apprenticeship reading list within the 3rd or 4th year of training. It's going to get you very literate on a broad area of lesser known subject material and very insightful details that allow your mind to take from them what you're meant to. Those of us who have the lovely privilege of cultivated home libraries already have this book and have read it, right? Or who have at-home temples. We have been spending a lot of time lately now that we have the opportunity to catch up on a lot of personal advancement endeavors, things we might otherwise have been forestalling on. So I might actually go reread that book. I might reread The Secret Teachings of All Ages because it's really that good. Hermetic magicians practice daily. I've said this before, rain or shine, no matter what, in their ceremonies, in their light invocations, in their meditational practices. But it isn't often that the entire country presses pause to where all of us, from the most social to the most hermit, can really take the time to research, read, train in specialized ways that we might have been putting off for our day jobs, right? Or for our daily labors. I'm one of those graced people who actually does have the room here on private property for my magical needs. But it's good to remember that even if you don't have a special space set aside, that you have an opportunity here. So maybe even if you don't have a special area, a private room, a private temple on your property, maybe even you don't have a lot of privacy for yourself. You might be sharing space with others as you shelter in place. You can still use these times to practice and gain wonderful experience in your craft. Whether it's within Wicca, Druid, Hermetic, there's an endless inner space for you to work privately, mentally, internally, and wonderful opportunities to quietly and humbly practice things like patience, kindness, generosity of the non-egoic depolarized spirit. Now that so many people, possibly people that you actually are sharing a space with, are there to benefit from your ongoing training, from your ongoing practice of balance and equanimity. Be the rock in the storm, the light in the dark, or the dark when everything's too bright, the deep breath of calm appreciation. And yeah, maybe work extra on your sigil or spellcraft while you're at it, if that's your thing. No reason not to right now that you have the time that's being gifted to you. Along with heightened meditation and temple time where I am, because I'm so very, very lucky to have that space here, I've actually been busy making cloth masks with internal pockets. Every one of those raises awareness for the overall good and possibly helps to limit someone using a product a healthcare provider might actually need. So if you haven't seen many cloth tarot card bags going into the Luxe shop, now you know why, right? I'm using that cloth. I'm using that material to make masks. That's one small endeavor that I've taken on with this extra time. It's a more pressing concern just now than profiting from the store. Not everyone can do that, but all of us can do the even greater work of being the example in the storm, right? Where fear and stress runs high, occultists run cool, right? We hold and anchor peaceful, decent, common sense, rationale, all too often ignored, glowing space and respite. And yeah, that can mean allowing your ongoing magical practice to hone and strengthen your character. It can mean the extra 10 seconds of becoming 30 seconds, then becoming 5 extra minutes, and then maybe 10 extra minutes of you yourself not falling prey to a short temper, even when a lot of demands are being made on you, right? Or not falling prey to irritations, even when everyone around you is or has fallen prey to them, of not being subsumed or consumed by the mass anxiety pressing in around us. There is a very real mental state around nouns like disease. That is a reality of our existence right now. That doesn't mean that, like the many, we don't have to unwillingly choose to be a part of that. We can make a willful choice to be who we are. The occultist is the beacon, the rock, and sometimes that really does mean having the incredibly powerful and magical ability to do something that most people give no credit to, something most people see as so simple it doesn't need to be bothered with, like redirecting a conversation to more useful ends, or to say nothing at all at the right moment and listen to someone else's concerns. Because we are among the few who have, or hope to have, or are working actively to have, the will, the ability to allow for that. Because we are self-reliant, self-assured, balanced and secure within our own beings. Be the element insecurity brushes up against and then takes relief from, adapts to, right? Finds security in. The person in the room who someone else's fear isn't matched by, isn't reacted to, but instead senses such calm that those fears can be spoken safely and then released, and it doesn't need to become an ongoing thing for someone else. That is a huge part of what occultists do, just holding space, right? Anchoring the light. It's a huge part of what the occult provides. Mastery is not conveyed in sharing our relentless opinions and polarized feelings. That isn't a master who's behaving that way. At the very least, that's not a master who's behaving in a masterful way in that moment when they're entering into their ego state to say, make a podcast or YouTube video on their personal anxieties or backlash against people who agree or disagree with them, or personal beliefs about what's happening or what to do or worry about, or what others should do or worry about. There is a lot of that going on lately. I see it among some of my own brethren a little too often. That's a common reactive response. that most people have. It's not the masterful few who behave that way, especially in moments of strain, duress, right? It's not truth-seeking behavior. It's not the wisdom of occultists that's being modeled there when people are behaving that way. It certainly isn't masterful. So for those questions that I'm getting in my email on such and such YouTube magician said this about the virus, or worries about that, or this grand diviner / lama, whatever, is worried about X, and this other guru says X isn't true, but I should worry about Z happening next in the government. The only response I'll give to any of that is the simple response question to you, the person asking me that by email. Why are you taking your cues from someone who isn't behaving themselves in a masterful way? Especially when you already are, by remaining inquisitive, by taking the time to ask questions. If you're behaving in a more masterful way than the people you're listening to, you might want to ask yourself why you're listening to them. Giving opinions isn't a great way to be able to actually hear what's going on around you. So if someone is giving a lot of opinions on things, chances are they aren't as wise as you're allowing yourself to believe they are, or as you yourself are already. Until next time.